Welcome to Purpose. I'm your host, Corie Clark. I'm just a normal girl who decided to go for it. I created a thriving business from the ground up without sacrificing my sanity, and I believe that you can do the same. You were created on purpose, for a purpose, and I fully believe you can turn that purpose into profit. Each week, I'm going to bring you practical advice to help you live your life and grow your business on purpose. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Purpose. I'm your host, Corie Clark, and I'm so excited about this episode because I'm interviewing my amazing friend, Crystalyn Aucoin. This week's episode is brought to you by my brand new Purposeful Business Academy. If you're tired of feeling like you're running in circles in your business, juggling a bajillion tasks and can't even get seen by your audience, or turn them into customers for that matter, then you're definitely going to want to get on the wait list. Doors will be opening soon, and I'm actually only going to open this up to a small group. So if you want to be the first in line, head to CorieClark.com/waitlist. That's CorieClark.com/waitlist. Now, on to today's episode. Like I said, I interview my dear friend, Crystalyn. Crystalyn is a mom and a jewelry designer from New Orleans who just launched her own everyday fine jewelry line last October. She created a brand that reflects femininity, philanthropy, and connection that fosters the idea of being beautiful inside and out. Crystalyn shares how she found purpose through loss and is now living out her purpose by helping others through her business. Be sure to screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram at Corie Clark so I can see who's listening and what you're up to. All right, you guys, let's get into the show. Hi, Crystalyn. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I just cannot wait to share a little bit about you and your business with my listeners.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about you having a podcast now, and that you invited me on is just a dream come true. So thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, Crystalyn and I met actually back in September. Well, we met online before that, but we met officially in person back in September because Jasmine Star hosted this brand building day, and she chose 10 women to be part of it, and Crystalyn and I were 2 of those 10 people. So I've been able to get to know Crystalyn a lot better over the last few months, and I just love her so much. So I'm so excited that Jasmine connected us, and all of the women in that group are amazing.
They really are. No, it's such a blessing. I think every month when we meet online, we all just keep singing each other's praises. We're just so blessed to have each other in our lives. So yeah, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah. So well, let's just dive in. And you have such a beautiful story, and I would love for you to share that with my listeners. And tell us a little bit first about what it is that you do. What is your business?
Sure. So I am a jewelry designer from New Orleans. I've been in the jewelry industry about 10 years, and I just launched my own jewelry line this fall, so in October. So it's been a exciting time in my life the last few months trying to get this brand built and released to the world. So it's been a fun time. But yeah, my background is jewelry, and it's definitely my passion.
And your line that you launched is it's gorgeous. It is seriously so beautiful, and I just love that it's very unique. It's gorgeous. It's high quality. It's just there's just something so special about your line. Do you want to just share a little bit about why you decided to do this? Because you said you've been in the industry for 10 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so what made you decide to go out on your own?
So a little bit of a backstory is I got into the jewelry industry a little 10 years ago. My sister was working for one of the top independent jewelry stores in the South, and she loved what she did. I had just graduated college in marketing and advertising, and I was not loving what I was doing. And so I was looking and searching for just something to make me kind of happier. And she was the person that I noticed was like the most happy with her job. She just loved it. And so they hired me. They actually interviewed me. Hurricane Katrina happened here in New Orleans. It was a very devastating event. And I was interviewing like 2 days before Hurricane Katrina hit. And after that, I wasn't sure if I would ever be able to work there because I didn't know what our city would be like. But 6 months later, they decided to hire me. So I went into the industry and fell in love with it. Was super happy with, just learning and connecting with customers. I actually met my husband there. And so, my sister always credits all of that to her, which I have to give her some credit for it. But yeah, my husband and I worked together in the business. It was actually his family's business, and he was the diamond buyer, and I sold a lot of diamonds. I sold a lot of engagement rings. So we worked very closely together. And we loved it. We were like really rocking our careers, both of us. We were, just doing very well together. Got married 2011 and decided around 2013 to start trying to have start a family. So we did that. We tried to start a family, and in 2014. We were super excited about it. And at that same time, Ryan became ill. We didn't really know what was wrong with him. At first, it took a while. We just knew that he had something going on with his lungs, and it was painful, and it was very similar to like pneumonia, they kept telling him, but he was 36. So we were like, this is weird. Something's happening. And so while we were excited about starting a family, we also knew something was just majorly not right with him. So 6 months later, maybe 5 or 6 months later, we realized that through a lot of biopsies and things that he actually had cancer. Mm-hmm. So we were expecting our first child. We were like at the top of our game career-wise, and he developed cancer. Actually, the same day we found out we were having a little boy, like they told us the sex of the baby. We were so excited. The same day, another doctor called and told us he actually did have cancer. So it's kind of like this whole bittersweet time in our life, just totally on high from, being pregnant, and then totally at a low, like what are we dealing with this illness, So we kind of both would work when we could, and then we traveled and just tried to find the best for him. The disease he had was called peripheral T-cell lymphoma, NOS. It was a very rare cancer. So we had to travel around the country just trying to find the right doctors and try to just get him the best prognosis, because the prognosis wasn't good. So fast forward a while, we did have the baby. He was able to be there, which was amazing. And then we had to quickly move from New Orleans to Houston for him to have a stem cell transplant. That was going to be his best bet of survival. And so we did that. And a couple of our family members would kind of go with us, his mom, my mom, and help us out. And he did well with the stem cell transplant, but as with a lot of cancers, you can get secondary cancer. So he developed acute myeloid leukemia. And sadly, when the baby was 16 months old, Ryan passed away. So we just had such a hard-hitting, devastated situation happen, and it was a 2-year battle, but it seemed so quick at the same time because we just had so many moving parts with having to move away from our family and having our first child, trying to experience that and go through it at the same time as him, battling cancer.
Yeah.
It was
That is just
it was
awful.
definitely.
And how old, how long after you had the baby did you guys move to Houston?
The baby was 5 weeks old when we had to go to Houston.
Okay.
So yeah.
And so you were a brand new mom and helping care for your husband and had to move away from family. And how, I mean, oh my gosh. So
it was a very
you,
trying time.
Yeah. I just, what do you think it was for you that helped sustain you and get you through that new mommyhood not only is your body and your heart changing to care for this new baby, but still having to, put your husband and his health first and move and,
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me, I'm a really creative person, and a lot of times with that comes not being like as organized as maybe some other people are scheduled.
hmm
And I'm kind of spirit in that way. But at that time, I just learned that schedule and routine were going to be our allies.
hmm
It was going to be what we needed to just get through it. So from the very beginning, I just tried my hardest to get the baby on a schedule, to get Ryan on a schedule, to get myself on a schedule so that we can just balance all the craziness of life. Um,
Yeah.
but
And
at the
like
same time,
control what you could.
yeah, control
Yeah.
what you could and understand that you couldn't control much else. And
hmm
I mean, at the time, like I look back at it, I remember feeling really bad at the time. Like I couldn't foster a lot of other relationships. Like I
hmm
felt like I wasn't the best daughter. I wasn't the best daughter-in-law. I wasn't the best sister. Like I just didn't have anything else left in me.
hmm
But I don't regret giving it all to Ryan and to the baby. I mean, I had to, and that was kind of my fuel to my fire is let's keep these two boys alive,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever I have to do. Because there were times, I mean, I do not come from any type of nursing background. In fact, I could never be a doctor or nurse. I'm squeamish, I just have so much respect for them. But I was given Ryan IVs at home at our apartment at times, and different things that he had to do. He had this, it's called GVHD of the skin, where his he had the stem cell transplant, but his cells were like fighting against themselves. And so he had to do these like wraps and like skin treatments. And, I just remember like pulling the baby, putting the baby in the pack and play and like pulling it into the bedroom and like trying to do his whole routine without him being like, it's just all these moving parts like when
hmm
I was doing it. And I don't know how I did it. Like I
Yeah.
look back and I was like, wow. But at the same time, I know that if I did all that, I feel like I can do anything in the world
hmm
now. Like, it's given me like so much confidence to just say I can really do anything. If we
Yeah.
got through that, um, obviously, I wish that we would have got through it and the prognosis was better and Ryan would have survived. But at the same time, like my purpose is like living life differently in order to say he didn't do that for nothing. He didn't go through that for nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's beautiful.
yeah, it
That's
was.
beautiful. And so then, were you still living in Houston, did you say, when he passed away? Or had you moved home?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were still there. Yeah, we were still there. He went to MD Anderson, and it was a great hospital for us. And yeah, he was there. I mean, to the very end, they were trying to give him a second stem cell transplant. We had a donor lined up through Be the Match, and they found him, another donor, and he was potentially going to go through that again to see if they can cure the newer cancer. But his body just couldn't do it. That cancer was so aggressive at this point. He couldn't
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't get to it. But yeah, so he passed there, and then basically we moved home. And I was really worried about just coming home. Like, what is my home? And like, it was Ryan's home before we got married, and but it was our home for several
Mm-hmm.
years, and I just was a little nervous about getting back here. But when I came home, I felt so much sense of like peace, and I felt like his presence here, and like it was okay.
Mm.
Um, so there was something about that. We still live in the same home. I renovated it and like made it more girly because
Mm-hmm.
it used to be a bachelor pad, but it just very much feels like where we're supposed to be, and it's a good thing.
That's beautiful. So, when you moved back home, did you have to go back to work right away, or were you able to take some time off and just get back into life?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to just take a little bit of time for myself and for my son and just kind of regroup after going through that situation. And anybody experiencing grief can probably relate to this. You're kind of in a fog for a while. So when I think back to right after Ryan passed, I don't remember a lot of it almost. I mean, I was definitely in a fog. But someone locally, actually this amazing woman named Karen Stahl, she's incredible. She's a breast cancer survivor. She contacted me and asked me to be a part of her organization. They were going to throw an event and she needed some people to kind of volunteer and help out. And I know she did that more for me to just kind of get out and have some type of purpose. And I'm so grateful for her by doing that because I'm actually very much involved in her organization now. It's the Karen T. Stahl Breast Research and Breast Institute in New Orleans and in Houston. She does both and she's phenomenal. And so I dove into that. I kind of dove in a little bit with my friend Chad Landry and his organization called the Lymphomaniacs. He's a lymphoma survivor. He actually helped Ryan through so much of what he was going through. And I just started like trying to be purposeful in that, like feeling like if I'm helping, other families or other people experiencing the burden of cancer, I'm doing good. And one thing when Ryan was sick, I mean, he had a huge heart. He just had the biggest heart. He would come home from the hospital. Like a lot of times I couldn't go to the hospital with him because I had the baby at home and we had an apartment very close to the hospital. And he would go to treatments or whatever he had to do and come home and he'd say, "Oh, I want you to go on GoFundMe, go to this account and let's donate, $100 or whatever." And he would tell me the story of the person. And sometimes he would have met the person and sometimes he would have just overheard their story.
Wow.
But he just wanted to give. And he really connected with people having this additional financial burden. And we had a great insurance and we also had saved a lot of money over the years. We kind of lived below our means, like very conservatively. And so, and we had family help. So financially, we didn't experience a lot of stress on top of everything else. But he saw so many other people who experienced in this extra burden that we were fortunate not to feel as much. And he was very connected with that. And so when he would talk to Chad, our friend with Lymphomaniacs, he'd say, "Chad, when I get better," he always talked about when he gets better, he's like, "I want to give back to people who are experiencing the financial burden of cancer. Like, that's what I want to focus on." And Chad was like, "Definitely, I think that's a great idea." And Chad's organization is really big. This year, their goal for their event is like 300,000. They raise a lot. They've raised over $1 million for cancer, patients and things like that. And so so obviously Ryan didn't get to do that himself, but Chad has changed the name of those grants. So he gives grants to cancer patients now because of Ryan, and being inspired by him. And they're named after Ryan, which is so cool.
So that's so special.
Yeah, people who have that financial burden, they get these donations, which is great. So anyway, I dove into all of that and felt very fulfilled in that. But at the same time, I have to work and support my family, my son and myself. And so I really wanted to have my own business and I really wanted to design jewelry. And I feel like I'd been in the industry so long to find this like space of like what I didn't see out there, which was fine jewelry. So 14 karat gold, sterling silver, but minimalistic everyday wear. So not a lot of diamonds, not super expensive, but pieces that people will have and will last forever. They won't fade or tarnish or, get thrown in the jewelry box. They're everyday. And so
now, okay, so real quick. So had you in your previous years of being in that industry, had you ever done any design or was this like completely new to you?
So mostly the design that I did, I designed a ton of engagement rings. So I mostly did bridal and I'd work one-on-one with the customer for custom ring through the store that I worked for. So we also, it's called Aucoin Heart Jewelers in New Orleans. And they have full manufacturing. So we did all of that there. And then Ryan designed a lot for the case. So like he would design collections. And so I definitely had design experience. Any of the fashion stuff I did would be just stuff I do for myself, which would be kind of funny because like I'd design a necklace and then a customer would like it. So we'd sell that. And then, one of the salespeople would want it too. And then we'd start kind of wearing the pieces. So I understood the design part of it, but it wasn't like what I have made it now as far as the whole collection,
Okay.
But that's definitely what has, I think, kind of separates me and my industry from a lot of other designers is I had this whole retail side of it. So I got to experience like what the customer wants, what they're asking for, what's out there, with all the brands that we were selling. And then, I don't know, I just kind of looked at all that. And then I looked at my day, like my life now. Like I used to go in the jewelry store. I had to wear a dress every day. I wore a lot of diamonds and like, fancier jewelry because that's what I was in the luxury business. But now I was like, I can't wear all that stuff. Like I'm taking my kid to like baseball and like
Yeah.
wear my yoga pants all week. So I was kind of designing for me, which is interesting
Yeah.
and it also made it fun.
That's
Um,
really fun. And so, okay, so you started designing. When was that you decided to go ahead and design your own line? And your store launched like in November, correct?
yeah, like
Okay.
end of October.
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
what was that process before? Like, when did you kind of say, like, okay, like this is what I want to do. I'm going to start designing. Like, what was that process like and how long did that take?
So I was on a slow boat. It took me, I like really, really decided in 2017, like March of 2017. And then I had some other things kind of come up in my life that created some just distractions from being
Hmm.
able to focus on it, as with most people's life, I'm sure, and really started to focus back on it, maybe like 6 months later. And so it really took a little over a year to fully get the line together and be able to launch the business. It was
Okay.
like, yeah, like definitely a slow process and a learning process. I mean,
Hmm.
there was a lot I knew about the business, but there's a lot I still don't know, about having
Yeah.
your own business. And
Totally. Yeah.
yeah,
And actually being the one who's making all of the decisions and not just what the
yes,
jewelry is going to look like and trying to
yeah.
sell it. But yeah, so much on the back end.
So much on the back end. Yeah, it's a monster for sure. But gosh, I am so grateful for people like you who helped me so much right before the launch. And even some of my girlfriends, I would take them to trade shows with me. Some were in the industry, some weren't, just because I needed to bounce things off of people and I needed them to push me a
Totally.
little bit. I was kind of scared to make decisions sometimes or make I remember we were doing packaging and the minimum quantity for me to order was 1,000 boxes. And I was like, oh, I will never sell 1,000 pieces of jewelry. Like, when am I? And the girls were like all looking at me dumbfounded. They're like, are you kidding me? Like, you're about to start this brand and you don't think you can sell 1,000 pieces? And I'm like calculating, I'm like, it's going to take this many years. And so I needed some pushing, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad they did because I'm rolling through those boxes, and they're
That's so
beautiful, and
awesome. And
you
they
know,
are beautiful. And
thank you.
it's so true. Like you have to have people in your life that believe in you. And so like I'm not even just talking about like your, girlfriends that you hang out with, for wine night. Like you've got to have a couple people that believe in you and are going to push you because we so easily can do that to ourselves and say like, "Oh my gosh, I'll never sell 1,000 pieces." Whereas someone
Yes,
from the outside looking in is like, what are you talking about? Like, you're amazing and you're going to do it. So, having people in your life that even just understand the lingo of being in business and being an entrepreneur and that you can
yes,
just like call up and say, oh my gosh, my website's down. I'm having a sale. No one's showing up because my website's down. Like, what do I do? And
right.
yeah, it's
No,
just,
it's so encouraging. It's so important. I just tell so many people this now. I'm like, just make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are pushing you, not just saying yes to everything or like, you can do it like your mom would, but like really kind of pushing you and like lifting you up.
mm-hmm.
And then another thing that I experienced that was really interesting, especially at the time because I didn't really understand it, was discouragement. People discouraging me
Mm,
from from fulfilling this dream that I had. They would
yeah.
tell me why I shouldn't get in the industry right now, or why don't you just go work somewhere? That way, when you go home, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to take your work home with you. It'd be so much easier. And at the time that I was getting a lot of that, I was kind of angry about it. I was like, these people are so discouraging. They're so rude. Like, they don't want me to succeed. I just was so pissed, to be honest with you, about it. And then now I can kind of look back on it and I see it differently. They were trying to protect me. I had went through so much for
Yeah.
so long and they witnessed it and it was hard to watch. And I think a lot of friends and family were like, Crystalyn, give yourself a break. Like, this is not going to be easy. Um,
Totally.
take the easy route because there's definitely were easier routes. But I just felt and feel so strongly about this business and this brand and my purpose. And I couldn't listen to all that.
Yeah.
And so now
Yeah.
I see it as they were trying to protect me. But at the time, I wasn't happy about it. you
Wow.
know?
Yeah, that is really frustrating, but I love that you could see that, and it wasn't like people were being discouraging because they didn't believe in you, but that they were trying to protect you. And the other thing is with that, a lot of people, whether they're trying to protect you or not, sometimes there's people that just they they just know what's easy and safe and comfortable, and getting a job and
Mm-hmm.
having benefits and having a steady paycheck is easy and safe and comfortable. So,
Right?
but if you don't feel like it is fulfilling your purpose and what you're passionate about, then it can end up being draining. So,
Yeah.
so then you did bring up the word purpose, and I'm just curious what you feel like, how you feel your purpose is woven into your business.
Definitely. No, I feel like this business was kind of like built on my purpose. So, I had mentioned that I was doing a lot of the charity work before, and then I was like, well, I really need to work and make a living. And so whenever I started thinking about the brand, besides the jewelry designs, I was thinking, how can I weave those two together so that they
Mm-hmm.
both work together? So while I'm working on my business, I'm still giving back. There's still this charity aspect to it. Yet I'm able to make an income, and support myself and my son and have a life we want to live. And so I did a lot of research on other companies that were like for profit, but with this other background of giving too, like
Mm-hmm.
Tom's, and just other companies that do stuff like that. And so I decided to give like, okay, I don't know when I'll be profitable. So I was like trying to figure it out and like, how do I give when I'm not all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost looked at it like I'm just like tithing, like, so like when you give money to church, like
Mm-hmm.
you just do it. And so I just decided like, okay, a portion of my sales will go to these two organizations that I'm already involved in. They're giving back to the right places. I know these people, I know where it's gone. And so I'll give a percentage of my sales to these two organizations. And so I felt really good about that and excited because I felt like no matter what, as I'm selling and I'm doing better, I'm giving more.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was based on a percentage, so I would give more. And so, and I also figured like a lot of people have been touched by cancer, so they'll
Yeah.
understand that aspect and want to participate in that. But what's so interesting is part of my like just purpose and mission is in life is just to connect with other women and like inspire them and encourage them and hear their stories and just connect so that we can all like just kind of bring more goodness to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it dawned on me very early on after the launch that all these women that I was connecting to, they all had their own story and their own charities that were very important to them for a reason, one
Yeah.
reason or another. And so I started to connect with a few of them and them kind of like tell me their story of like why they like the March of Dimes or Junior League or whatever it was that they liked. And
Mm-hmm.
I decided to start doing like little promotions where if somebody wants to, if they were going to purchase a piece of my jewelry, I would give 15% of their purchase to their charity of choice. So it's
Oh,
not
that's
just about
awesome.
yeah, so it's not just about me and what's important to me and my charities. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, let's do it for your charities too. And then one of my biggest competitors is like mom guilt or guilt of spending money on yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
I think when you know that part of it's going to a cause that's important to you, it just helps you get over the idea that you don't deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's so true. And I think that's beautiful that you're letting these women choose, where they want it to go. Because like you said, some of us do have a story or a connection with a particular charity. And so I just think that's amazing that you allow that.
Yeah, it's something I'm really working on this year. It's part of like my focus is to just get involved more with people with causes and figure
Mm-hmm.
out ways that we can kind of connect and work together in that way. I donate pieces all the time to different events and things like that, which
Mm-hmm.
is great, but I'm trying to find either even bigger ways to just like connect and raise money, and obviously it's still a business, so do it with a purpose on both ends that we're doing good. Um, but I'm able to continue the business and we're doing good for charity. And then women get to walk around wearing these pieces and feel so good. I mean, my logo I call it gratitude. The symbol is for gratitude, and it's for being grateful for all the people in your life that help you and make you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so many people who wear my son's teacher. We gave her one for Christmas. And the other day she looked at me and she goes, "Do you know that I don't even take this off?" She said, "Because when I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, I go to brush my teeth." She goes, "It's the first thing I see. And it
Mm.
reminds me to start my day off with gratitude."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Thank you so much
That
for
is
telling me
beautiful.
that," because that's
Yeah.
how I feel. And like to know people are wearing the pieces and it's like really impacting them in that way too. I love it. That's
Yeah.
definitely
That's
part of my purpose
beautiful.
too.
I love it. I love that your pieces are okay. So, not only are they gorgeous and they represent something, especially like your gratitude piece, and you give back to charity, but at the same time, like, because you brought up the whole like, women feel guilty buying something nice for themselves. But the thing I've learned as I've gotten older is like, I would so much rather invest in a quality, like timeless piece, whether it's jewelry or clothing or a purse or whatever it is, and actually have it last and, be able to use it for years instead of just like, throwing it away in a couple months because it's broken or it's rusted or
Right.
whatever. You know what I mean? So there's
Yes.
just so many things I love about your brand. And I think you've done just an amazing job putting it together. Your line is gorgeous. And then, so do you have new pieces you're working on? Do you have another line that's going to be launching soon?
I do. I actually just went to Tucson, Arizona for the biggest gem show in the world. It's
I
amazing.
saw that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to go there. I might have
Oh,
to go with
it's
you next
beautiful.
year.
Yes. Okay. Totally. You need to go with me. It's so beautiful. I took a girlfriend with me this year, and she's been in the industry. She was in the industry a while back, so she was helpful. And we also just enjoyed the scenery and the hikes and all of that. It's a beautiful place. But I'm gonna start introducing gemstones into the line in like small batches. So I'll just
Hmm.
do like small collections that are just maybe 3 pieces or 5 pieces that are available with a certain stone, and then that will be like for that
Hmm.
design. So I'll always have like my core pieces and keep building on to the designs and collections. But I just had this idea of just adding some color, but doing it like if I saw a stone and it inspired me, like just doing pieces, for what I find. And
Hmm.
those will be really special pieces that'll be pretty unique. They're one of a kind or maybe three of a kind.
Yeah.
So I'll probably introduce that in the fall. Right now I'm still working on some of the core line. So
Yeah. I'm so proud of you. And I love that you just went for it and you launched this business. And so, how do you feel it has been? Do you feel that like your success has exceeded your expectations, met your expectations? Has there been any like major like stumbling blocks or aha moments over the last couple months since you launched?
yeah, so I'm very happy with the launch. Honestly, so I was going like my plan was to just launch online, but the store that I used to work for, that is my in-laws, my husband and I worked there. They wanted to carry the line there, which I was super excited about, but I really didn't have like much of an idea of getting into wholesale, and so that was different for me. So it's so funny because sometimes you just think one way and then life shifts around. But
Mm-hmm.
so I knew I was doing the website, and then they picked up the collection in their store, and they have done so well with it, like so well, like exceeded my expectations, and has really opened my mind up to doing more wholesale accounts around the country. But I think the biggest thing that I was afraid of was not being able to connect with people in like a really meaningful way, like I had when I sold jewelry in person. Because now I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to do it online, and I
Yeah.
never did this before, Um, and surprisingly, I have been able to connect with even more people from really like around the world, which is so amazing.
Oh,
And
I love it.
yeah, I feel more connected than ever um, with just women around the world. And I think that fear was getting to me, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to see where it's gone. So,
Oh, that's
yep.
amazing. That is so awesome. And it's so true because, I mean, sure, you could set up an online shop and you could just kind of let it run itself. But when I think it's so important to add that personal brand experience to it, even when you have a product. And it's like what I've done with my product as well. And just using social media and email and those kind of things to actually connect not just with our customers, but with, anybody who cares to be a follower or sign up for our email list. It is so important to keep that personal connection and actually like know that these are real people on the other side of the screen. And it helps them
Yes.
know that you're a real person on the other side of their screen as well. And it's
Yeah.
just like you said, like you end up meeting people from all over the world instead of just, if you were just at the shop, you're
Yeah.
only meeting people who come into that shop. So I
I
love
have,
it. And I love that
yeah.
your stuff is in a shop and hopefully going to be in more because then you get a little bit of both worlds.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is meeting all of these new people. Almost feel like guilty where I feel like I'm getting so much from them. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning and growing more than I've ever done and quicker than I've ever done in my life just through connecting with these just amazing. I keep saying women because it really is mostly women that
Mm-hmm.
I'm connecting with. And it's just been such an amazing experience. It really has. I'm just like even meeting you and getting to
Yeah.
connect with you and all the help you've given me. And I mean, I've used like every tool that you have, like seriously, like
Aw, thank
my
you.
house is
Well, I'm
less
glad it's
cluttered.
helpful.
My house is less cluttered. Like I'm using a planner every day. Like seriously,
Yes.
I just love it.
Oh, I'm glad that it's been helpful because that's what I'm trying to do is help people. So,
You're
okay.
rocking it.
Okay, so a couple questions real quick before we wrap
Okay.
things up. So, I think the first thing now, like you're my first official interview, so I'm trying to figure out what
Yay.
kind of questions I can ask everybody. But I think for sure, I want to help people with their businesses. And so, if you could share like one piece of advice for someone who's starting out, like gonna launch their new business, or even if you want it to be specific to jewelry, whatever you want, but like what's one piece of advice that you can give?
I think the one piece of advice that I was given, and by a few people, and I'm still learning because I'm not exactly great on it, but I'm working on it, is especially when you're building in like an online business, is that you really need to focus on growing your email list and
Mm-hmm.
using it. I am really working on putting a strategy in place for that because I connect with a lot of people on social media and it's great. But if an algorithm changes on Instagram or Facebook, then we're kind of out. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
own those followers. Anything could just go at any point. And so building that list of people who actually want to hear from you in their inbox and giving
Yeah.
you that opportunity to get in there is it's incredible. And when I haven't sent a ton of emails yet. I'm really trying to get better on a schedule and have a lot of strategy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do send them, they translate into sales.
Yeah.
And I get people responding back in very meaningful ways. And I see people in my, at my son's school or out and about, and they'll talk about my emails. And I just think it's probably an underused thing in a lot of businesses, but
Mm-hmm.
I just know it's such an amazing tool. And it's something that you own and that you have when you're building an online business. So that's one thing I would say definitely focus on if you're doing an online business for sure.
Yeah. So true. So true. I'm glad that you said that because I couldn't agree more. It is so important, and it does translate into sales, and it does bring in that connection piece. Like a lot of times when I send an email, I'll ask people like to reply,
Yeah.
or even if I don't ask them and they do reply, I'll respond back. And so many times they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just responded to my email." And it's like, well, of course I did. Like, you're talking to me, and
Yeah.
so it does bring that personal connection in, and it gives you access to your audience that is not promised on any other platform. So,
Definitely.
amazing. Okay, and then my last question for you is what does living on purpose look like to you?
So living on purpose to me looks like being who I want to be today. Like I learned this from Courtney Elmer. She's a life coach for entrepreneurs. And recently I went on a retreat with her and I just loved this is she explained the difference between where you want to be and where you are right now. And that it's really about like personal responsibility and shifting your mindset to just be where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I think for me, like living my purpose, it just means like being the person that I want to be right now, where if something happened to me and I had to look back on my life, I could say, wow, I was really living my purpose. I was living exactly the way I wanted to live. I was helping people. That's number one. I was
Mm-hmm.
um, providing a loving home for my son and a happy home. And I was, you know, inspiring others to just do the same thing as to just like live their dream and take each day like it's the gift that it is,
Mm-hmm.
and doing something, even if it's little. Like that's the biggest thing for me. Like sometimes I feel overwhelmed because life is overwhelming. But if I can just look back on the day and kind of reflect and think, what did I do today to live in that purpose? And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes you can find so many things that you did, but with all the chaos of life and the overwhelming feelings, you don't remember because it was busy and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take that time to just like reflect on it, then you realize you are living your purpose. I think
Totally.
yeah. I think that's just the thing is just be who you want to be today. You stop,
Mm-hmm.
don't put everything in the way of why you can't be that. Even just do one little step today that pursues that dream you've been dreaming about or that goal you have, or even just the feeling that you want to have. You want to be a happy mom, be it today. You want to
Mm-hmm.
be a successful entrepreneur, do it today. So that's
Totally.
just,
I love that. I love that. Just even being that person today and not waiting for the right opportunity or waiting until you have, enough friends or enough followers or you have your dream job. Like, actually, like, who do you want to be and start being that person today? That's
yep.
beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, Crystalyn, I just am just so thankful that you came on the show and shared your beautiful story of loss and finding purpose and turning that into a business. And I just think it's so beautiful what you're doing. And I love that. And I love that what Ryan did, his heart for helping people has stayed alive in you and in your business. And it's something that you can pass on to your son. And, I just think it's beautiful. And so I just thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I just enjoy connecting with you so much, and I appreciate you just listening and asking me questions and telling my story too, because we all have a story, we
Hmm.
really do. And I think the more we share our own story and how life isn't always perfect and Instagrammable, we can just connect on just a deeper level. So I just appreciate you having me on, and I love you so much. I'm just so grateful for you.
Oh, thank you. I love you so much too. Okay, so before we go, can you let my listeners know where they can find you?
Sure. So you can find me. I am on Instagram and on Facebook, both of them at Crystalyn Aucoin Jewelry. And I'm sure Corie will put that in the notes because it's hard to spell.
Yes.
And you can find my website at crystalynaucoin.com. And then also, I wanted to tell you, Corie, if any of your listeners do go to the website and are interested in buying a piece of jewelry, I am happy to donate 15% of their purchase to their charity of choice.
I love it.
And I would just say if they would want to put the word purpose in the coupon code area, and that will give me the heads up that I will be donating to their charity of choice, and I will contact them to make that happen.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Crystalyn.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, yeah, you guys definitely need to go to her shop and buy up some of her gorgeous jewelry, especially that gratitude piece is just, it's stunning. And I also use her jewelry cleaner. It is seriously the best. And it's like this foamy, like it's just amazing, and it makes my jewelry so sparkly and gorgeous. So I highly recommend that. But I am going to put all of her information in the show notes so that you can just click on over to her shop and to her Instagram and stuff like that. And I just highly encourage you guys to follow her because yes, she makes gorgeous jewelry, but she is also just, as you could hear in the interview, just one of the kindest people on the planet. So she's definitely someone that you guys need to know. So
thank you. You're about to make me cry, but
sorry.
You're so sweet. No,
you
thank
were
you.
Like starting to make me cry earlier, so we just need to finish and then we can cry. Oh, well, thank you so much, Crystalyn. And yes, I will, like I said, put that stuff in the show notes, and we will see you in your shop or on Instagram.
Sounds great. Thank y'all so much.
All right. Thank you, Crystalyn.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, you guys, that's going to wrap up our show for the week. I actually have a bonus episode dropping this Friday, and I'm going to be sharing 5 crucial pieces to building a solid, purposeful, profitable business. And if you want to get on that waitlist for the Purposeful Business Academy, head on over to CorieClark.com/waitlist. As always, be sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode, and leave me a review as they are so incredibly appreciated. Thanks so much for listening, you guys, and I will see you in the next episode.